Act 6 of our divine constitution and bylaws. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality. And we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live in the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained noble Jew Ali the prophet to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. At this time, I'd like to recite the Moorish American prayer, the source from which we draw our strength. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. First off, I'd like to rise to give praise to Allah. I'd like to give praise to Allah because it is He who is the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Everywhere is He, nowhere is He not. I'd like to give honor to Allah's holy and illustrious prophet, noble Drew Ali, because it is He who is the founder of our address, the Moorish Science Temple of America. I'd like to give honor to all of those and honor to all of you that have and will aid and assist us in this, our divine and gigantic mission, the uplifting of fallen humanity. At this time, I'd like to read from the Moorish Holy Quran, chapter 46. The title of the chapter is The Foundation of Christianity, beginning in Rome. And it reads on this wise. Jesus himself was of the true blood of the ancient Canaanites and Moabites and inhabitants of Africa, seeking to redeem his people in those days from the pressure of the pale-skinned nations of Europe. Rome crucified him according to their law. Then Europe had peace for a long time, until Muhammad I came upon the scene and fulfilled the works of Jesus of Nazareth. The holy teachings of Jesus was to the common people, to redeem them from under the great pressure of the hands of the unjust, that the rulers and the rich would not oppress the poor, that the lion and the lamb may lay down together, and neither would be harmed when morning came. These teachings were not accepted by the rulers, neither by the rich, because they loved the principles of the 10th Commandments. Through the 10th Commandments, the rulers and the rich live, while the poor suffer and die. The lamb is the poor people. The lion is the ruler and the rich. And through love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, all men are one and equal to seek their own destiny and to worship under their own vine and fig tree, after the peace principles of the holy and divine laws of their forefathers. All nations of the earth in these modern days are seeking peace. But there is but one true and divine way that peace may be obtained in these days, and it is through love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, being taught universally to all nations in all lands. Thus, we just had a reading from the Moorish Holy Quran that was divinely prepared by our holy prophet Noble Drew Ali for our earthly and our divine salvation. Indeed, I'm honored to be able to come before our Portland listening audience to talk to you about the last prophet in these days and time, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I have a blessing for my Portland listening audience today. There's a brother who is a member of the Moorish Science Temple of America, whose name is Gregory Rambo Ill. And Gregory Rambo Ill was a brother that did a lot of studying. He studied a lot. Matter of fact, when he was in school here, he was from Portland, Oregon. When he went to school here in Portland, Oregon, him and his queen, both of them played basketball. Matter of fact, Rambo Ill used to help teach some of the brothers and sisters that's right here in Portland, Oregon now. He used to give them some signs and help them to unfold into becoming a better basketball player in their game. So he and I was talking the last couple of days, and we was into a conversation that touched him real deeply. And it was about the Moorish Science Temple of America and nationality. Now, he have a lot of friends that's here in Portland, Oregon. They all grew up together. And some of his friends have went down to the courthouse. And when they went down to the courthouse, they filed for some paperwork. They filed to get some paperwork because they wanted to know about their nationality, because they say that they heard that the Prophet Noble Drew Ali told all the Moors that you must proclaim your nationality. So now, what I'm going to do before I continue to talk about Brother Rambo Ill, I want to quote one of the acts that Noble Drew Ali gave the Moorish Americans for our earthly and our divine salvation. He said, all members must properly attend their meetings and become a part and a parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. He said members must pay their dues and keep in line with all the necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you're entitled to the name of faithful. He said, husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband, take care of your children, and look after the duties of your household. He said, sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant from your holy prophet Noble Drew Ali through the guidance of his father, God Allah. Thus we just had a reading of Act 7 of our divine constitution and bylaws. Before I get into my subject matter, I want to show my Portland listening audience some literature. The first piece of literature I want to show you is brand new. I bought it to show you, and we have quite a few of them for those that want to learn the truth about yourself. This is known as the Moorish Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. And it says, divinely prepared by the noble prophet Drew Ali, by the guidance of his father, God Allah, the great God of the universe, to redeem man from his simple and fallen stage of humanity back to the highest plane of life with his father, God Allah. We have another piece of literature that I have is known as the 101 Questions. And in this 101 question, we have what is known as 101 questions. And in the back of your 101 questions, we have something that is known as questionnaire and additional laws for the Moorish Americans by the prophet Noble Drew Ali. These are additional laws. Then we have what is known as the Moorish Science Temple of America, the Divine Constitution and Bylaws. And this is something that Noble Drew Ali gave all of the Moors to study. If you want to proclaim your nationality and become a member of the Moorish Science Temple of America, the first thing you need to do is know who you are, who your forefathers were. You need to know about your nationality, and you need to know about your divine creed. And lastly, we have a piece of literature. It's known as Moorish literature, Moorish Science Temple of America, incorporated by the prophet Noble Drew Ali. And on the page that we have on page 5, I'm going to read this before I get into my subject matter. And it reads on this wise: the citizens of all free national governments, according to their national constitution, are all of one family bearing one free national name. Those who fail to recognize the free national name of their constitutional government are classed as undesirables and are subject to all inferior names and abuses and mistreatment that the citizens care to bestow upon them. And it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the name and principles that delude to slavery. I, the prophet, was prepared by the great God Allah to warn my people to repent from their sinful ways and to go back to that state of mind of their forefathers, divine and national principles. That they will be law-abiders and receive their divine rights as citizens according to the free national constitution that was prepared for all free national beings. They are to claim their own free national name and religion. There is but one issue for them to be recognized by this government and the nations of the earth, and it comes only through the connection of the Moorish divine and national movement, which is incorporated in this government and recognized by all other nations of the world. And through it, they and their children can receive their divine rights unmolested by other citizens, that they can cast a free national ballot to the polls under the free national constitution of the state government and not under a granted privilege as has been the existing condition for many generations. Another part. Now, it was brought to my attention that in 1913, Noble Drew Ali founded the Moorish Science Temple of America. He founded the Moorish Science Temple of America because Allah sent him through the Prophet Noble Drew Ali to bring us our nationality and our divine creed. Now, we remember in 1928 when Noble Drew Ali went to that conference over in the East, and everybody that was at that conference had a nationality, even the Moorish Americans. And we was at this conference. And in this conference, one thing that didn't come up on the agenda was religion. Because religion is law, and law is government, and religion was instituted to teach man that from heaven alone are we to hope for good. So we're talking about nationality. So when Noble Drew Ali, now I'm teaching this lesson today because Brother Rambo Hill asked me to send it and asked me to teach it. And he asked me to make sure that those friends of his that's from Portland, Oregon, get a chance to look at what I'm talking about because it may be conducive to your growth and your development. Now, when you join the Moorish Science Temple of America, what you do is proclaim your nationality. It says all members must proclaim their nationality. And we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that you may know that you are part and parcel of this said government and know that you are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians. Now, when we begin to talk about us proclaiming our nationality, Rambo will want me to teach the lesson of how do you go by proclaiming your nationality. And he said that he was informed by some of the brothers and sisters that's from Portland, Oregon, who have took out some paperwork with the government to proclaim their nationality. Now, I'm getting ready to give you some signs because when you begin to talk about nationality, this is not something that you go down to a courthouse to proclaim. The only way that you can proclaim your nationality, as Noble Drew Ali said, is done in the Moorish Science Temple of America. When you come in the Moorish Science Temple and want to take out your nationality card, what you're given after you take out your nationality card is something that will help you learn about this movement. Now, in my conversation with Brother Rambo here, we started off, he was telling me that when you begin to go to the gym, and you go to the gym, and you go to the gym because you want to learn the teachings of the fundamentals of basketball, or you want to learn the fundamentals of football. He said that you will go to the gym and ask the people in the gym, the teacher, to teach you these fundamentals. He teach you the figure eight. That's one of the things that you learn when you want to learn about basketball. You learn about the figure eight. So in the Moorish Science Temple of America, when you want to learn about your nationality and your divine creed, things that Noble Drew Ali brought to us, you don't learn this through nobody. Can't nobody tell you about your nationality and your divine creed unless you do it in the Moorish Science Temple of America. And when you do it in the Moorish Science Temple of America, when they say all members must proclaim their nationality, what you do is you proclaim your nationality and you proclaim your divine creed. You have two flags. I have both of them on. One of them is national and the other is national descent. Rambo Hill wanted me to explain that you just can't fly one flag. Nobody on this plane of things made manifest fly one flag. Everybody fly two flags. You are Moorish something. You are Moorish Chinese. You are Moorish German. You are Moorish American. You are Moorish something. We all fly two flags because man today is what his forefathers were yesterday. And there is no one who is able to change man from the decent nature of his mother and father unless his power extends beyond the universal creator, Allah himself. So now we want to learn about the Moorish Science Temple of America. We want to learn about the teachings of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. And the only way you can learn about the teachings of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, you're going to have to learn it through the Moorish Science Temple of America. Now, the last couple of days, I was talking to the brother, and I've been seeing a lot of brothers, and I've been seeing a lot of sisters riding down the street, and they have certain tags on their car, and they say these tags that's on their car have a lot to do with citizenship. But we know that the citizens of all free national government, according to their national constitution, are all of one family bearing one free national name. And those who fail to recognize the free national name of their constitutional government are classed as undesirables and is subject to all inferior names, abuses, and mistreatment that the citizens care to bestow upon them. And it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the name and principles that delude to slavery. Now, let me get into my subject matter. I'm going to get into my subject matter because when you begin to talk about nationality, I seen the other day that there was a Moorish American who called himself Moorish American. And he said that he proclaimed his nationality. And he said when he proclaimed his nationality, that meant that he was a Moorish national. He said not national and national descent. He said he just don't want the American part. He said he just want the other part because one without the other is whole. When Noble Drew Ali tell us that one without the other is but half. So now we have the Moorish literature pamphlet. And when you study this Moorish literature pamphlet, it has literature about nationality and divine creed. This is what it's telling you. It's telling you why you cannot just say that you're on the national side. You have to be on the national and the national descent side because this is what Noble Drew Ali brought us. Noble Drew Ali founded the Moorish Science Temple of America in 1913. He was the one that Allah sent to redeem us from our sinful ways and to warn us of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. So now you're going down to the government. And you say, boss, I want to proclaim my nationality. I don't want to be a Negro, or I don't want to be colored, or I don't want to be black. He say, I'm going to be Moorish American, but I'm going to just take the Moorish. I don't want to be American because I'm not honoring the American government, because I don't honor the American government because they have a different sign than what we have. But your science is not the science that Noble Drew Ali brought us. Noble Drew Ali brought us something that came from the great God Allah to redeem us from our sinful ways and to warn us of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. So when Noble Drew Ali came, he brought us nationality and he brought us divine creed. He brought us everything that we need to save us from the wrath of Allah. So if you say that you are Moorish and that you know about your nationality, then the flag that I wear right here, I have two flags. I have a national flag and I have a national descent flag. And this came from Allah. This came from Allah to our holy prophet Noble Drew Ali, and he gave it to us. So now you see people with flags other than what the prophet brought us. You look at this flag, and when you look at it, what do you see? You see two flags, your national flag and your national descent flag. So when we say we are Moorish Americans because we are descendants of Moroccans and born in America. And as we study this, young brothers, and we talk about nationality, and when we talking about divine creed, let's go back. Because you got to understand that Morocco did not get its independence until March 2nd, 1956, from under the French rule, meaning that that flag was flying here in the United States when it wasn't even being flown in Morocco. But today, it's being flown in Morocco because Morocco got its independence from under the mother country, England. So now, when you begin to talk about those who say that they in Morocco today, they are French. Those people that's in Morocco today who got their independence March 2nd, 1956 from under the French rule, they are French. They stole your birthright. They took your forefathers, buried them in Vatican Square, and took on the name. And now they got us looking like we Negro, colored, and black. He said that Negro is a name given to a river in West Africa by Moors because it contained black water. He said Negro is a name given to a river in West Africa by Moors because it contained black water. But black, according to sign, means death. So now, if Morocco got its independence March 2nd, 1956, from under the French rule, then how can those that call themselves French, how can they take the flag? Because when you look at Morocco today, you don't see Asiatics there nowhere. Even though the flag belonged to you and me, because when we come out of Spain in 1492, and we know about Charlton Heston, we know about all of these particular lessons, but those of you who gone down to this courthouse to learn about your nationality and divine creed, you need to do it in the Moorish Science Temple of America so you can get the lessons and the blessings that you need so you can pass it on to your family. So the brother, Rambo Will, in love with these brothers and these sisters that he grew up with. And he was talking to me the other day about the lesson that just was in the newspaper about when he was coming up, his people would always talk about how we had to be in the house by 6 o'clock because they had the sundown law. And if you wasn't in the house by 6 o'clock, you're going to have some trouble. And the Moorish Americans right here in Portland, Oregon, have another lesson to teach that brothers and sisters can't even teach this from somewhere else. Because when you begin to talk about nationality, everybody have one except you and me. And when you go to the courthouse, because they set this up for you to do it anyway, when you go to the courthouse and say that you want to proclaim your nationality, what you are doing, you are setting our people back 100 years. Because nationality is the order of the day, and we need to teach. Now, what we see, what I see all the time, I see these brothers and I see these sisters. And you running around talking about you proclaiming your nationality. But if you don't proclaim your nationality and your divine creed, because it's two of them, it ain't just one, it's two of them. They came 2 by 2. They didn't come one. They came 2 by 2, and you have to proclaim your nationality. And when you proclaim your nationality, nationality is the order of the day. What your forefathers were yesterday, you are today. And there's no one who is able to change man from the decent nature of his mother and father, unless his power extends beyond the great universal creator, Allah himself. Now, you say that you are Moorish American. Why are we Moorish American? We are Moorish American because we are descendants of Moroccans and born in America. Now, who are these Moroccans? They are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Now, who are these Moabites? They are the biblical sons and daughters of Ham, one of the 3 sons of Noah, according to the biblical scripture. And this is why we're Hamitic by decent nature by the way of Lot. Now, Lot is the son of Haran. Haran, Ned, and Abel, all of these will take you into your genealogy. So this is what Noah Jew Ali brought us. I want to show you something right now. And this is coming out of our salvation. This is coming out of our Quran question for Moorish Americans. And I want to show you something because Noble Jew Ali brought it to us. Now, I done seen a lot of brothers And I've seen a lot of sisters say that you going down to the courthouse and you want to get your paperwork. You want to get your paperwork. I got my paperwork. You want to get your paperwork, and you don't even know the Moorish American prayer. You don't know the divine constitution and bylaws. You have to know the curriculum of the Moorish Science Temple of America, because if you don't, you slouch under the wing. So when Noble Drew Ali came in 1913, sent from Allah to redeem man from his sinful ways and to warn him of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth, he told us. So you don't go to the courthouse. You don't go to the courthouse and proclaim anything. If you want your nationality card, you do that in the Moorish Science Temple of America. Not the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, not the Moorish anything, but the Moorish Science Temple of America. And in the Moorish Science Temple of America, you learn the truth about yourself. You learn about your forefathers' ancient and divine creed. You will learn that you are not Negro, because Negro is a name given to a river in West Africa by Moors because it contained black water. Now, when you go to the courthouse, you're still Negro. You're still colored. You're still black, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders. When? In 1779, and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now. And all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. Stop here now. The other night, I was talking to some brothers, and the brother was telling me that he had his paperwork and that he was all officially settled in the Moorish Science Temple of America. If you don't have nationality and divine creed, if you don't have your nationality card that was given to us by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, then you will separate yourself outside of the constitutional fold. See, because it say the citizens of all free national governments, according to their national constitution, are all of one family, bearing one free national name. So we have a national name and we have a national descent name, conjoined, making us Moorish Americans. So I hear a lot of people say they're Moroccan Americans today. Noble Drew Ali didn't say that. He said we are Moorish Americans. He said we are descendants of Moroccans and born in America, and that the Moorish Americans are descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. So the government let you go down there, proclaim some kind of paperwork, and tell you that you have a nationality. But the only way that it could be done, and it have to be done through the Moorish Science Temple of America. And one of the first things you have to learn is the Moorish American prayer. A lot of us don't even know the prayer. You went down there and got your paperwork, and you know everybody. You go to the church, and when you go to the church, the first thing they teach you is the Lord's Prayer. Everybody have a prayer. Even in the Moorish Science Temple of America, we have a prayer. And the prayer that we have was brought to us by Prophet Noble Drew Ali. And this prayer saved us from the wrath of Allah because it's teaching us to be ourselves. See, man have two selves, but we're talking about teaching you to be your higher self. The higher self is the mother of virtues and the harmonies of life. And it breeds justice, mercy, love, and right. So we're talking about the highest principles known to man. We're talking about saving you from the wrath of Allah. We're talking about teaching you how to be yourself, just like your children. We all have children. And your children, they're going to ask you, say, what is my nationality? Why are we Moorish Americans? Why is it important for Noble Drew Ali to bring us our nationality? What purpose do it have? Because it will put you back in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. I was looking at the literature. And when we look at our literature tells us that Noble Drew Ali talked about one prophet, one temple, one nation. when you look at Noble Drew Ali's literature, he tells us to name one temple and one prophet. So myself, I was a member of a brother by the name of Dr. R. Bey. I was a member of his temple. But he gave me a lesson, and he's been teaching me before he passed. He said that, yes, we have a temple here, but he said that the only reason why I was a part of another temple because there was brothers and sisters who wanted to learn about the prophet Noble Drew Ali, and at that time, they didn't have no other temples in Washington, D.C., and he went to the grand body and told them to wake these brothers up, and he wouldn't do it, so he left that grand body, but that's the grand body that he come under. And he told all of the members that he taught, and that was in conjunction with him, that the time gonna come that you're gonna have to go back under the grand body that you left from, because there ain't but one prophet, one temple, one nation. And all these brothers and all these sisters that you see that's with all these different temples that's diametrically opposed to what Drew Ali told us, you got to go back to where you come from. I met a lot of brothers. And I want you to look at this, brother, because the brother was teaching on this, and I can't wait because he's he do some kind of work that he go across the country. You know, he got these trucks that he's driving. So he hasn't been able to come to his meetings lately. But he's been on the road, and he's the chairman of our temple here. He's been on the road because he's getting financed because we're in the process of building some things. But he was telling these brothers and these sisters that he come up with that if you don't go to the Moorish Science Temple of America and proclaim your nationality, you still a slave. You still a slave to sin. And it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the name and principles that allude to slavery. So now I got a nationality card. I don't fly two flags. I just fly one flag. And the one flag that I fly is the flag that's just got the Moorish Science Temple of America, got the red flag, have a 5-pointed green star on the center. And the 5 points represent love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And the other flag that I fly is a flag that comes from somewhere, but it's not a flag that fly in the Moorish Science Temple of America. Everybody got 2 or 3 different kind of flags, but if we are talking about worshiping under our own vine and fig tree, then we have to go back to that state of mind of our forefathers, divine and national principles. When you talk about the Moorish Science Temple of America, you're going to have to learn your divine constitution and bylaws, because this is a law, something that Noble Drew, he gave us 101 questions. Noble Drew Ali gave us 101 questions so that we could learn these lessons to put us back in tune with our forefathers' divine and national principles. He gave us a Moorish literature pamphlet. In this Moorish literature pamphlet, you get a chance to learn about your nationality, your divine creed. You get a chance to learn about your forefathers' ancient and divine principles. And I want to reiterate, we are talking about being a Moorish American Muslim. We are Moorish American because we are descendants of Moroccans and born in America. And the Moroccans are descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Noble Drew Ali brought us a flag. He brought us the American flag. He said we must fly both flags because he came with the message from Allah. See, let me reiterate that. Noble Drew Ali came to us with a message from Allah. And when he came with the message from Allah, this message is hooking us back up with the family of nations. We are talking about nationality. We have to see Rome because Noble Drew Ali came with the methodology that was conducive to our growth and development, and it came from Allah. It didn't come from man. It came from Allah. And Allah tells us to learn to love instead of hate, and we don't like the government. And we think that because we say that we are Moorish Americans and we fly two flags, that we are out of stock. Yeah, you out of stock because you didn't honor the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, but you calling yourself black. You said that you're a black man. You said that you're a black man and that you're a part of the black race. And that don't make sense. It don't make sense because you claiming to be a part of the Moorish Science Temple of America. But if you're not a part of this divine and national movement, he said the citizens of all free national governments, according to their national constitution, are all of one family, bearing one free national name. Those who fail to recognize the free national name of their constitutional government are classed as undesirables and is subject to all inferior name abuses and mistreatments that the citizens care to bestow upon you. Now let me stop. When Noble Drew Ali came, he came with a program that was conducive. This program is still being taught today in the Moorish Science Temple of America. There's a couple of temples in the Moorish Science Temple of America teaching our people about their nationality and their divine creed, letting them know that they are part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negro, colored, black, or Ethiopian, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. So now you got to proclaim your nationality. And the way that you proclaim your nationality, you do it through the Moorish Science Temple of America. Noble Drew Ali was sent to this earth. When Noble Drew Ali came, he was sent to us by Allah to teach us the everlasting gospel to the sons of men, that we'll know who we are and who our forefathers were. But you got a handful of brothers, don't know nothing. You don't know anything about your nationality. You don't know anything about your divine creed. I remember a time, I'm going to share this with you, that there was a lot of brothers who wanted to go down to the courthouse because they got tired of the Moorish Science Temple of America and they didn't want to be a part of it no more. And they felt that Noble Drew Ali wasn't giving them enough. But what more do you need to know? Or who can teach it to you, or who can give it to you? Noble Drew Ali came with the methodology. He came telling us that we was not Negro, colored, and black. He told us that we was Moorish American. This literature that Noble Drew Ali brought us, this literature is what redeems you from your sinful ways. It warns you of the wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. So if you go to the Moorish Science Temple of America and proclaim your nationality, it's going to free you. It's going to save you. It's going to save you from the wrath of Allah. It's going to help you teach these things necessary to make our members better citizens. And if our members become better citizens, the way that you do that is proclaiming your nationality. You learn to love instead of hate. You learning, see, we have acts. In the Moorish Science Temple of America, we have what is known as the Divine Constitution and bylaws. We have additional laws. And all these laws that Noble Drew Ali gave us is what saved us from the wrath of Allah, and it saved us by teaching us to be ourselves. See, we're not talking about somebody else. We're talking about teaching you to be yourself. We're teaching you to be your higher self, because man have two selves. There's a higher self and there's a lower self. The higher self is the mother of virtues and the harmonies of life. The higher self is human spirit, clothed with soul, made in the form of Allah. The lower self is the carnal self, is a reflection of your higher self distorted by the murky ethers of the flesh. Now, we all want to go to the courthouse, but we don't want to join the Moorish Science Temple of America and become a part of this divine and national movement. I remember when I first come to Portland, Oregon, and we had a temple. And but before I got here, they had already had brothers that was here that was sending people down to the courthouse. And when they sent the people down to the courthouse to proclaim their nationality. But in order for you to proclaim your nationality, you must fly 2 flags. You can't fly 1 flag. You have to fly the 2 flags that Noble Drew Ali brought us. He brought us these 2 flags, but he was teaching us to be ourselves. He's teaching you to be your higher self, letting you know that the higher self is the mother of virtues and the harmonies of life that breathes justice, mercy, love, and right. So when you see a brother riding around and they have these different symbols and these different signs on their car, and they say that they are part of the Moorish Science Temple of America, who is the leader? It can't be Noble Drew Ali, because Noble Drew Ali said, I brought you everything that it takes to save a nation. Now take it and save yourself. So when Noble Drew Ali came, he brought 2 flags. And if you say that you're a member of the Moorish Science Temple of America, whoever your leader is, you're a member of the Moorish Science Temple of America, you got to follow the prophet Noble Drew Ali to a destiny which is not uncertain, nor unknown. You have to fly 2 flags, national and international, conjoining, making you Moorish American. And these are things that Rambo Hill is in the process of teaching you brothers and sisters here in Portland, Oregon when you get back from his trip. Because you need to know, because he needs to be the one that teach you, because this your homeboy. Y'all went to school together. Y'all grew up together. He knows something that you need to know. And what you need to know is nationality is the order of the day. You need to proclaim your nationality. It's not just 1 flag. Noble Drew Ali didn't bring us 1 flag. Noble Drew Ali brought us 2 flags. And when he brought you 2 flags, he hooked you back up with the family of nations. He honored all true and divine prophets. We honor Jesus. We honor Muhammad. We honor Buddha. And we honor Confucius. I remember years ago, there was a big controversy because we were talking about Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius, but you had other brothers and other sisters. They want to add some other names. Noble Drew Ali knew what he was doing. Allah sent him. He knew what he was doing because he came to redeem you and me from our sinful ways and to warn us of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. And it's a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the name and principles that allude to slavery. So now I proclaim my nationality. I say I want to proclaim my nationality because nationality was the order of the day, and I wanted to be who my forefathers were, and I want my children to know these lessons because they are part and parcel of this said government. If you say that you are part and parcel of this said government, then you know that you are not Negro. Negro is a name given to a river in West Africa by Moors because it contained black water. That's Negro. Colored is anything that has been painted, stained, varnished, or dyed. And you say you're not black. Black, according to signs, means death. But black in signs means justice. And justice is dealing upright, equal, and fair. And as we check the records, we see that everyone has a nationality. And when Noble Drew Ali told us it was 1 temple and 1 nation, he was telling us that we all need to proclaim our nationality. And there's a lot of brothers and sisters that have nationalities from other persuasions, because you got to understand, when we went into Spain in 711 and stayed there to 1492, last 1492 is when the last stronghold of the Moors fell in Granada, Spain. And if we don't have this literature, this basic literature that Noble Ali gave us, then you can't go down to the courthouse and tell the man down there that you want to proclaim your nationality, because the only way that you proclaim your nationality, you're going to have to say that I'm Moorish American, because I'm who my forefathers were. Man today is what his forefathers were yesterday. And there's no one who is able to change man from the decent nature of his mother and father unless his power extends beyond the great universal creator, Allah himself. Let me read something. Let me read something to you. And this came from the Holy Prophet, Noble Ali. And it reads on this wise. Divine origin of the Asiatic nations. The fallen sons and daughters of the Asiatic nations of North America need to learn to love instead of hate, and to know of their higher self and lower self. This is the uniting of the Holy Quran of Mecca for the teaching and instruction of all Moorish Americans, etc. The key of civilization was and is in the hands of the Asiatic nation, the Moorish, who were the ancient Moabites and the founders of the holy city of Mecca. The Egyptians, who were the Hammatites and the direct descendants of Mizraim. The Arabians, the seed of Hagar, Japanese and Chinese. The Hindus of India, the descendants of the ancient Canaanite, Hittites, and Moabites from the land of Canaan. The Asiatic nations of North, South, and Central America, the Moorish Americans, and Mexicans of North America, Brazilians, Argentinians, Chileans, and South America, Colombians, Nicaraguans, and the natives of San Salvador in Central America, all of these are Muslims. The Turks are the true descendants of Hagar, who are the chief protectors of the Islamic creed, beginning from Muhammad I, the founder of the uniting of Islam by the command of the great universal God, Allah. See, I had to read that because these are some of the things that you get when you begin to study the Prophet Noble Ali. This is why you have a lot of brothers and you have a lot of sisters that's in the Moorish Science Temple that went down to the courthouse and got some paperwork, but you can't teach it to your children because they don't know. You don't have the literature to teach them. You're not teaching them from the teachings of Prophet Noble Ali. You just telling them to go down to the courthouse. Somebody gave you some paperwork to sign, and you have yet to learn the truth about yourself. You have yet learned the truth about your forefathers' divine and national principles, that they'll be law abiders and receive their divine rights as citizens. So now, my nationality is Moorish American. I'm a member of the Moorish Science Temple of America. I'm learning to love instead of hate. I'm teaching those things necessary to make our members better citizens. And the only way that you can make yourself recognized is through the teachings of the Holy Prophet, Noble Ali. So Brother Rambo Hill, he wanted me to come through here because he on his way back in a little while. And he want me to let his friends know that nationality is the order of the day. You can't serve two masters at the same time. There's the only flag that I know, or the only flag that I see that you know, the one that killed roaches. That's the only flag. But the flag that we have our national and our national defense flag was given to us by the great God Allah for our earthly and our divine salvation. So right here, we have 101 questions. And let me quote something out of one of these lessons that he gave us. And I'm going to read from Act 4. It says, questionnaire and additional laws for the Moorish American by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Act 4. All members, while making a public speech, must not use any assertion against the American flag or speak radical against the church or any member of any organized group, because we are to teach love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. We know that it says to you that you don't want to honor the American flag, but we're talking about citizenship. We're talking about sitting down with the Europeans and having them to give us our reparation. And the only way we're going to get reparation, just like they got a lot of young rappers today that we've been meeting with. And these young rappers is talking about reparation for our people. But you cannot get reparation for your people until you proclaim your nationality. If you don't proclaim your nationality, you have no rights that a citizen is bound to respect. You need to get this literature that Noble Drew Ali gave to us in 1913. Matter of fact, I got enough literature right here for all of you. You need to come proclaim your nationality and get this literature and help us teach these lessons to our little ones that they may learn to love instead of hate. And when you teach these lessons to your little ones that they may learn to love instead of hate, well, I'm going to start this up another time. I'm going to close this out right now, and we're going to do this the next time we come here, because I think right now something else getting ready to transpire. So I'd like to close out with the Moorish American prayer, and it's on this wise. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. Wade in the water, wade in the water, Muslim, wade in the water. You are in trouble, the water. Who are those children?